Welcome back to Survivors Group. It's good to be back. It's an emotional experience to have been a survivor of abuse. It's not what I was expecting. Therapy is a very nurturing experience because what you learn in therapy is that because of that private world being interrupted, all the interruptions that went on, especially for health reasons, as you get older, like we're in our 40s and 50s, and some of the younger people that are in Survivor Group, when you start out in Survivor Group, there's obviously an intake process that we went through when we were teenagers. And I don't have to go back there to know what happened. It was quite the interruption. What I like about group therapy and counseling and support is that we can go back and enjoy life again. It's called picking up the pieces of the brokenness, and it's a heartbreak. It's okay to mourn and grieve. It's okay to cry too. That's very difficult for somebody who's not really ever had the ability to cry. I could go back to when the abuse really started, when I was a baby. And I know, because I wanted to protect my brother, but I was too immature of my own. I had behavior problems. And one of the things I want to show you in the next post is some images that I came across about knowing the warning signs of child abuse. I had behavior problems because of child abuse. And I had a lot of behavior issues. I was acting out a lot, like silly stuff, like really probably stuff that probably doesn't bother most people. What I found though is to find a family, or to find families that are supportive. Like, it seemed like they were supportive of one, not over one over another. And one of the things is with children witness things differently than adults. And something my sister said is so true, that all children have to be treated the same, and that's because there was so much division with a lot of adults. Not all adults are going to be appropriate for one particular family and group of kids. That's why whenever they put together the school schedule or other students, they want to make sure that they find that they're all at least on the same grade level. And we weren't at the same grade level as the parents and families that were handling another matter. We were in, I think we were all grade school when the abuse was going on. And luckily for us, it wasn't directed to me, but there was stuff that was going on at kindergarten. And thankfully, I was not I wasn't the victim in that case. I didn't become a victim of abuse until later on. I had a relatively okay experience considering what I went through in my teen years, though. I graduated high school, and I had survived a lot of, what I call survived. I witnessed abuse, and to me, it was as traumatic. I have a lot of headaches. I have a lot of stress on my body. And it was because I had witnessed it, when I was sharing earlier about being yanked, and putting this on Facebook and YouTube and social media does not bother me at all. What bothers me is I don't want to talk about it that much. I don't want to talk about abuse. I don't want to talk about what we went through. I just want to move on and live. And living my life means being successful and enjoying life and going out and achieving things and being healthy again. I wasn't that healthy. It took me a long time to outgrow what I went through, because there was a lot of attention that was around abuse, and it's not surprising. I didn't realize that my sex offender emulated Kinsey, from the Kinsey report. So going to survivor group is a very beneficial, very nurturing experience once we get there to the therapist. To me, we're on the journey, and everyone is going to get to a certain place in their journey, and they felt the pain of abuse. And if you felt it, you know why we had the problems we did. What I think, though, is that what bothers me so much about child abuse is that the child doesn't know how to play because their world was interrupted. And that really upsets me. Like, they stop playing with their dolls, they stop playing with their toys, and that breaks my heart. So when the therapist brings us through a lot of it, and you start to see laughter and playful, and you start to see when you start to see him play again, it's a life-changing experience. We've been through it since 1984 and 1985. So learning how to play again, it has to be a very safe world that was interrupted by child abuse. And these programs that, whenever you donate to Craig Sawyer, because we want as much donations that we can get to Craig Sawyer's program, and also the people he works with, to build a facility where it is a safe house. Because really, they have to create a safe room, a safe place, because a lot of children who are introduced to drugs and sex paraphernalia, depending on what age they were introduced to it, they need to be children. They need to be able to live and be able to get up in the morning and eat eggs in the morning and bacon, and they need to know what it is to be a child again. And I couldn't think of a better program. And I want to salute both you, Doug Hagman, every one of you. Thank you so much for what you do for us. Thank you for helping us. Because there's a lot of people that don't realize the emotional impact it's had on our families. And I only went through a little bit of the Contraland to appreciate those experiences that, it is so essential. We're going to get to the place where we're going to have fresh cut flowers back on our kitchen table. We're going to get back to that place where we're going to have our meals a little bit more planned out. We're going to get back to the place where we were before. I was telling my brother, it's like we had to go through it, the whole cycle of abuse. And that's because a lot of people don't get help. And there's a lot of child abuse victims that don't get help. And it is painful. It's painful to go through this. And this is simply because the child abuse victim's not getting the help they needed. It's a cry for help is what it is. So when I cry, I'm emotional because I know that it hurts. It hurts so much. My dad said the same thing. It hurts. It's painful. And we have been through things that I think that most people don't want to, they don't want to ever go through it. It's physically painful. Physical abuse is very painful. Emotional abuse is very painful. And when you see the second post, you'll see why we put this together, because this is the last of the posts that I could put together, because I don't feel comfortable going any further than what I've already shared. The rest is in individual therapy and counseling, and it's handled through programs like Vets for Child Rescue. It wouldn't work and first of all, there is really no other way it would work. They would be met with total opposition. There's a lot of therapists that don't have that type of training. And I'm not talking about master's social work. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about all that. It takes a trained expert in the field. And I think that when you see the kind of counselors and therapists we've worked with, there's only a select few that can do that. They have forensic background and experience. And it's hard to replace those people, so that you know. But the observation room is a very good, safe place to start with. That's a great, I like that. I was in North Carolina. I saw that these places do exist. So we got that far. It's recovering. It's living and recovering and eating right. It's listening to the doctor. Like when the doctor says you have to cut down on this stuff, it's those kind of things that we've got to work on, and quitting smoking and some other things, habits that we picked up when we were children. Because the child trafficking that was going on most likely at the roller rink, ice rink, when we were teenagers, you know. I'm pretty sure if we ever hear the whole story, it would be probably more or less that's how the pickup joints were. It's not for me to really be concerned about where the pickup joints are today. Right now, it's about the nurturing experience, about being in counseling with the appropriate counselors. And what's appropriate is that no one has the right to interrupt your life. No one has the right to interrupt your privacy or your private time while you're sleeping. No one has the right to do that. So we're going to stay with counseling till that experience is restored. I want to end here because, like I said, this stuff isn't for YouTube. This stuff isn't the stuff that we need to be concerned about. What we do want is that when we exercise the freedom to speak freely, it's not about just speaking out. It's about articulating what is important. I want to finally say this about the Kinsey Report, how it created this movement. And we're creating an opposite movement, an Institute of Recovery from the Kinseys of the world. And it makes so much more sense once you see the movie Contraland. And I am so happy that we got a lot of information. And I know there's a lot of people feel the same way. So this is a good thing. I just want to state there are things that only time can heal. And it's going out on a starry night. And it's looking at God's creation. And how God created us. And God created us for a purpose and a plan. And He has a good plan for each of us. And that little baby, and that mom, or that young man that was abused, or that dad that is wounded because he hasn't talked to his kids, or that mother that feels emptied out, or grandmother who is exhausted because of child abuse, or that aunt or sister or cousin or brother or best friend or neighbor that has just exhausted every option. God has a plan. His good plan. His good plan for you. You probably felt burned out and beat up and tired and exhausted by all this, and close friends, a close community. Just go out and enjoy that starry night for me. And remember, no matter how bad it was, no matter how bad the abuse ever was, that you know that we care. And grab onto that star and hold on to it. Because those starry nights mean so much. And know that you're loved. Because God loved you. I love you. Amen.